What up, Salvador Briggman here. Welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. On this channel, we talk about crowdfunding, and one of the incredible ways which you can actually raise capital from the crowd is using subscription-based crowdfunding. And one of the most popular websites out there to do this is Patreon. So actually on today's video, I want to talk about how to make money with Patreon and really get into that and really share with you the exact steps which you can follow in order to cash in from the crowd. I hope this is going to be useful for you, effective, and I also hope that you start taking action towards your dreams if you are not already. But if it's your first time tuning in, stay tuned because there's gonna be a ton of great tips and advice coming up in just a second. All right, man, so welcome back to this channel. I started talking about Patreon before really anyone else ever did. And this is back in 2012 when I got started in the crowdfunding industry. And I've seen many different iterations of other websites similar to Patreon. Actually, Kickstarter used to have other website called Drip, which they would kind of almost like try to do Patreon, but they ended up being successful with that. So I've seen a lot of different evolutions of Patreon. I've seen how it's grown over the years. And in today's video, I really wanted to share with you a couple different actual tips and advice that you can use in order to actually make money with this website. One other caveat, one other asterisk here in terms of citation. I want to make sure I get this right. So I do have a couple of other videos out there as well on YouTube. I have one on top earning Patreon creators. That's a really great video to watch. I'll make sure to include that link in the description. In addition, I have Patreon tips from experts, from a bunch of different people I've compiled together to share with you those actual tips when it comes to Patreon. In addition, I have some other great stuff that I want to talk about in the middle of this video as in terms of ways that can help you on this journey. Oh, and I also have a tutorial. Go and check out the tutorial I have on Patreon as well. All right, so let's get into this. Patreon works differently than other websites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo, where you can actually get people, random strangers, to back your Kickstarter or Indiegogo campaign. It usually doesn't work in that way when it comes to Patreon. Patreon, in my opinion, and from what we've seen in terms of data, is not as much of a discovery platform. Instead, it's a place where you go and you can actually support someone that you already know, or an artist or a creator tells you to go and check out their Patreon, and as a result, you become a subscriber and maybe you check out one or two other people that are on that platform. So this is a mindset shift that you should have specifically as a creator. And what this kind of leads to is that if you're going to be making money with Patreon, it's really going to go hand in hand with the way in which you grow your audience. So as your audience is growing, imagine this is a graph, right? As your audience is growing, so too is your subscription revenue when it comes to Patreon. So you should really view it from that mindset when as more and more of your audience is growing and growing, so too will your Patreon as well, if you are marketing it correctly. The other thing that you should sort of take away from this video is that if you're launching a Patreon, but you don't know anything about marketing, you should learn about it very quickly. But in addition, if you don't have an audience yet, it's going to be very difficult to monetize your non-existent audience with Patreon. Right? So Patreon, again, is a subscription crowdfunding tool where people can support your creations on a per creation or a per month basis. So the way that this works is that people are going to subscribe to your Patreon and they're going to basically support your creations or what you're doing monthly. It's very difficult to get people to do that if they haven't sampled your creation. So the most likely people to do that are part of your audience. So my number one tip is that mindset shift between not just immediately having tons and tons of patrons unless you already have a big audience, but it's really growing with your community. And it's another way you can monetize, another income stream for you as a creator. The second thing that you should really take away when it comes to making money with Patreon is that you want to have something that is attractive, that someone's going to view long-term value in terms of being a part of your Patreon community. So you can sell something very quickly and get a ton of people to buy that thing, and that's obviously what a Kickstarter campaign is more so of like selling something very quickly. But with Patreon, the name of the game is how do you extend the customer lifetime value? How do you get those people to be a part of your community for a couple of years and not just like a month or two? So when designing your Patreon tiers and rewards and packages, that's really at the end of the day when people are going to get the value out of being a part of your community. So really spend a lot of time thinking about those Patreon tiers because again, if they're very attractive and you're continuing to deliver value on an ongoing basis, people are going to be continuing to be a part of your community. And that's exactly how you make money. It is so much easier to retain a customer than to acquire a new one. So think about the structure of your reward tiers and ensure that whether someone is at the $5 tier or the $25 tier, they are continuing to have value delivered to them throughout the entire part of them being subscribed to your Patreon, and you're making sure to deliver that value. The third way to make money with Patreon is that you need, I'm saying this is so incredibly critical, you gotta have a marketing and a promotional strategy behind your actual campaign. And if you don't have that, it's gonna be extremely difficult for you to earn money because you're gonna need a really big audience of people in order to actually get them to go and check it out. Versus if you have a very effective communication strategy, a very effective marketing strategy, you could actually earn really decent money with just having even a small community. But most of the people in your community knows about your Patreon, are excited to be a part of it, are joining it, right? It's really about the marketing and the communication strategy. So there are two pieces as well when it comes to that marketing strategy, which is one is the actual channels which you are promoting this Patreon. So for example, if you're doing a podcast like myself, you're doing a podcast, maybe you're promoting it at the beginning of the show, at the middle of the show, during the show, or at the end of the show. So you have to have different channels in which you actually promote your Patreon campaign, be that social media, be that your core marketing when it comes to actual content medium. If you're a blogger, you're a YouTuber, you're a podcaster, incorporating that as one of your CTAs. Or if you have your own sort of communication channels, for example, you have an email list of some kind, you can then also incorporate that into your marketing strategy to drive traffic. So the first part of the funnel is driving traffic to that actual campaign page. The second part when it comes to the marketing strategy is going to be why should people join? What value are they getting out of this? And I wouldn't really rely on you just coming off this idea off the cuff, right? Like, oh, you should join my Patreon for this reason or that reason, just kind of using your mind to brainstorm in the moment. Instead, I'd actually write this out. I'd actually write out the copy which you're going to speak, whether on a podcast or on a YouTube video or on a blog post. Make sure you write out the copy because that way you can actually be more thoughtful about it. So you can think about all the incredible benefits that someone's going to get when they join your Patreon community, and you're getting people a lot more excited to be a part of it and understand the value behind it, right? And as well, talk about other people that are in the community and what's happening behind the scenes that they're not even aware of to create that fear of missing out. So there's the marketing and promotion in terms of driving and delivering traffic. And then there's actually what you say to get people excited, interested, move them down the funnel. So then they're thinking, oh, maybe I should join this. And they actually go and check out the Patreon campaign. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillment is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The top campaigns use this trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillment today. Link in the description. The next tip I have for you in terms of cashing in on your crowd and making money on Patreon is a little bit more advanced. And it's also something that I talk about in my book. I have a great book out there called Tricks for Launching a Patreon Campaign. I'll go more into that in just a second, but it's actually one of the things I talk about in the book. And the idea here is that let's just say you are a podcaster, okay? And you are putting out an entertaining or a political show of some kind, and maybe people get access to the initial version before it goes live, or they get access to an extended version, or they get access to have a live stream with you while you're recording the podcast with a guest that can ask guests questions real time. There are a lot of things that you can do related to the core content medium, right? And that's usually where a lot of creators will actually stop. They don't begin to think beyond that. But if you actually imagine yourself and really push on your creativity, come up with a couple of ideas, you can actually use your Patreon in a much larger sense. So what if, in addition to having that educational tier, that entertainment tier, you also have an educational tier. So you use the Patreon not only to target your audience who's interested in consuming content, but also to educate other creators, other entrepreneurs, other business owners who want to learn maybe how to set up a podcast, or who want to learn more about speaking well, or want to learn about how you do your research and how you learn about different trends if you have a political podcast of some sort, right? And do your analysis and those kinds of things. Maybe you could have an educational tier. And when you have an educational tier, all of a sudden it opens up the floodgates because you can then have many different courses, many different topics which you're teaching. You then also have entertainment plus education. So you're just really adding so much value to that community that it makes sense for someone to join it, to be a part of it, to continue to enjoy the entertainment side, to continue to learn from you because they're looking up to you. And by having multiple angles or multiple what we call target audiences that you're going after with your Patreon campaign, that way you can have a much broader reach, and also you have much more stickiness in the fact that people have a much longer customer lifetime value with your campaign. So these are exactly some of the techniques that I talk about in my book, Tricks for Launching a Patreon Campaign. So this book is really went out there and interviewed tons of different successful Patreon creators and put this into one slender volume that you can easily download, you can easily check out and get access to this war chest of different tricks which are designed to get you more backers more funding, more patrons, and much more quickly. So this is really aimed at beginners, people who have no idea what they're doing. But that being said, there are a lot of as well advanced tricks which you can use in order to make sure that not only do you have your campaign launched effectively, but people are joining it regularly. You have a consistent automated system behind running this Patreon campaign. If you want to check that out, go and check out the link down below or go to crowdcrux.com/Patreon tricks. And that link will take you there to that book and you can go and check that out. In addition, I have a free course out there on Patreon where you can learn not only the basics behind launching a campaign, but also what to do to market the heck out of it to get tons of traffic and attention and really to become a major income source for your business. If you want to understand sort of the tricks of the trade when it comes to marketing, go and check out as well that free course at crowdcrux.com/Patreon course. And I will also include that link down below so you can go and check it out. So the next secret that I want to share is kind of in the realm, and you can think of this label as being co-creation. Okay, so what does co-creation mean? Co-creation is when you are not just creating things as an artist or as a creator and pushing that out there to your audience, but you are actually creating with them. And this is actually one of the reasons why Kickstarter and Indiegogo is so popular and people actually love backing campaigns is because of this concept of co-creation. So you can actually as well use this to your advantage with Patreon. So how would you use that? So for example, you could have, if you're coming up with a new video, you could maybe either have the topic idea or even have someone ask a question, which you then answer on the video live or something like that. You can have that be happening behind the scenes within your Patreon community. And what that does is, number one, it makes the Patreon community feel involved in the creation process. And it's really kind of cool, right? It's like if you're going to hibachi and you're watching this guy actually make your food in front of you, it's kind of cool because you kind of feel like you're a part of the process in some ways. So when you involve other people in creating whatever it is you're creating, be that blog posts, graphical comics, podcasts, right? Whatever you're doing, YouTube videos on Patreon, if you involve your Patreons in the creation process and they see that, they're going to want to stay a part of your community. But also the other people that are not involved, that are your hardcore fans, that do love what you're doing, are be like, that is so cool, I want to be a part of his next video, or that is so cool, I want to be a part of the next podcast, or I want to be involved in some way. So it's a great marketing tool, but it also does what I call like coalescing an audience. It creates like an us versus them mentality, and it makes people feel like they're part of a really exclusive club when you involve this concept of co-creation. The final tip I want to include on this video is really more of a marketing channel which you should be focused on. Now, you have so many different creators out there. You have so many different YouTubers and influencers who are telling you to do things like start a TikTok account and start Instagram Reels and do social media and do this, do this. I'm going to tell you what is most effective for making money, for making sales. And that is, if you are a beginning creator and you've never done marketing before in your life, if you do nothing else, do what I'm about to mention. And that is that you should start an email list of your tribe, an email list of your following, an email list of the people who are a part of your community. And you can think about a lead magnet, which you can use to get people to actually give you their email address. So for example, download a free episode or download a free comic book or download something for free in order to actually get them to subscribe and enter their name and email and become a part of your community. So if you do that, my friends, this will allow you to communicate with them in the future. Also, email open rates are way higher than the number of people that are going to see your post when you put it on social media. Lastly, if something should happen, if your YouTube channel should get deleted or demonetized, or your Instagram profile for some reason gets shut offline, or social media when it comes to TikTok is no longer as big of a thing anymore, you always have your email list and you can always communicate with your tribe. And it really has this incredible level of durability that it builds into your business. So go and start your email list. A great tool to do that, if you don't know any other ones out there, is called Aweber. This is a really easy tool for beginners and it's actually free up until 500 subscribers. If you want to go and check out the tool Aweber, go to crowdcrux.com/Aweber. I will include that link down below. You can do all of your email marketing. You can see people that open your emails. You can see click-through rates. You can even create landing pages and do the lead magnet thing that we talked about at Aweber at crowdcrux.com/Aweber. Go and check that link out in the description. At this point in time in the video, go and take some action, my friend. It's great that you're surrounding yourself with the right voices and also you're consuming information and that you're really, putting high quality education at the forefront of your experience as a creator and growing your career in that way. So if you do want to continue on that path, again, I have that great book, which you can check out at the link down below at crowdcrux.com/Patreon tricks. I also have a free course for you, which you can plow through. You can start taking even more action every single week towards your goals. But if nothing else, this week, get out there, take some action, man. Set aside an hour, 2 hours to really think about your Patreon, or begin to take some steps, or even begin to set it up, right? Take some action, my friends. And if you do enjoy this video, give me a thumbs up. Come subscribe to this channel for more content just like this. My name is Salvador Briggman, and I will see you next time.